deadline, which is a week from Tuesday. Give us some names that you've got those eyes on.
Well, everybody's watching Cooper Kupp, who's playing tonight. He's off the injury report, playing against the Vikings. He'll play tonight. Everybody will watch him tonight, and then we'll watch to see if there's a team out there that can offer enough to the Rams to entice them to deal one of the top wide receivers in all of football. But maybe the top wide receiver available at the trade deadline, because of all the circumstances, youth, age, money, could be Deontay Johnson. The Panthers have gotten calls. He might be the most realistic wide receiver trade target at the deadline coming up here. And on the defensive side of the football, a name to watch would be Zadarius Smith. Is there any more of a perfect match than Zadarius Smith and the Detroit Lions? The Browns aren't winning. Zadarius Smith has gone to 3 Pro Bowls, knows the division, has played in Green Bay and Minnesota. That's a trade that should somehow find a way to happen. And here's the interesting part also, Greeny, as we look at some of the other names on there. Cooper Kupp is a guy that we're looking at, all the guys. The trade deadline this year, what's great about it is that it'll be a nice, quiet day as we wait to see whether any of these players are traded.
Yeah. It's Tuesday, November 5th.
Tuesday, November 5th. It's not like there's anything else going on that particular day.
Exactly right. Tuesday, November 5th will be the first standings, the first college football standings. Dan Orlovsky is asking what we're talking about. That's the election.
Yeah. The presidential election
day. Has word of that reached you?
I just talk ball.
Yeah, I do ball, dude.
I just talk ball.
I'm saying fair enough. You give me great hope. Okay, J-Mac, tonight, Vikings and Rams kick off Week 8. What are you watching for?
Well, hopefully there's no type of debate or anything going on around the election tonight. But I want to know, is Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, we're talking about all these trade rumors, Puka Nacua coming back off IR. He doesn't want to walk into an empty room on the offensive side of the ball. I want to see how these guys perform, and is Cooper Kupp going to be in a Rams uniform after this game?
Yeah, that's the big question there, Schefter just talked about. And Dan, let's talk about Cowboys-Niners Sunday night. What are you watching for?
Can the Cowboys stop the run? San Francisco can still run the football, even though they're dealing with some injuries. Last 3 times these teams have played, the Cowboys have lost all 3, and they've given up over 450 yards rushing. Can this defense, coming off of a bye against a reeling offense that is devastated by injuries, stop the run?
So far, they haven't, and they haven't at record numbers. The Cowboys can't stop the run. They can't run the ball. And Jerry Jones, in his weekly radio interview, knows exactly who to blame. It's the coach's fault. This was the owner and the general manager on the radio Tuesday talking about his coaching staff and Mike McCarthy.
The types of things that we all think we should be looking at is, well, we're designing bad plays or we're designing bad concepts. The facts are that there's some of that, but there's also some of execution. There's some of the talent. I like our talent.
I talk to Jerry all the time. You know, we've had time to go through the self-scout, so I can't really. I didn't see the comments specifically, so but I don't think we have bad concepts in bad place. But I'll go back and check. We're not where we want to be. I mean, that's clearly, and it ultimately is my responsibility, and I'm fully aware of that. But, you know, we are very diligent.
Man, I very seldom feel bad for people who have jobs that everyone else in the world would dream of having and make lots of money. But I actually felt bad for Mike McCarthy in that moment where he's got to explain, because the person who was criticizing him is his boss, is the one who pays his salary and all that. So he can't say what he really wants to say. So he has to say, well, I don't think I'm calling bad plays. I don't think we're designing a bad offense. I guess I'll go back and look. Pretty uncomfortable moment there, Dan. What is your big picture take?
I've never heard a front office member talk about an employed coach that way. An owner, a general manager, talk about a coach that is still an employee in that capacity. To undermine, to undercut, to belittle that head coach who you hired, who's won a Super Bowl, you undermine his football intelligence, his ability and his football acumen to design plays. I've never, in 20-plus years being around the league, heard that happen before.
Can I say this really quick, though?
Go.
Does Jerry Jones understand that it's okay to have a positive environment for your coaching staff and your players? Like, that's okay, Jerry Jones. It's okay for things to move in a positive direction when it comes to your organization. Because guess what? Players and coaches, they thrive a little bit better when those circumstances arise to them or are presented to them, I should say, Greeny.
This is a very confusing situation because Jerry Jones has stuck by a lot of coaches over the years, Jason Garrett and many others, at times when we speculated on whether or not they would get fired. They haven't done any high-level winning in a very long time, so it's not like this is new either. So you say to yourself, what is it that's new? What is different? Why is it that he's saying these things now when he generally hasn't? It's his expectations, right? He is genuinely surprised that what we all saw coming is what's actually happening.
100% accurate. And that's why in the offseason it was said this team is set up to fail because the owner and the general manager expects a Super Bowl run. The talent doesn't supply that or support that. The talent is not a Super Bowl run talent. It's the least talented football team they have had since Dak Prescott became the starting quarterback. That's how I feel about their talent.
And that's the tough thing about it because when you're the owner and the general manager, as ownership, you of course have the expectation to win when you're paying your quarterback $60 million a year. But as a general manager, you haven't built the team to do so. But as the owner, how do you call yourself out for not building a team? So the comments we're hearing when you're talking about offensive scheme, when you're talking about we couldn't figure out how to use a Derrick Henry, you're saying my coaches aren't smart enough to figure that part out.
Just think about Mike McCarthy's week right now.
Of course.
You go into the bye week after a win on the road against Pittsburgh in dramatic fashion.
No, they got obliterated by Detroit.
Oh, excuse me. So you go into that after getting absolutely dump trucked. Your Hall of Fame quarterback has said your routes aren't good on the perimeter, and then the owner and general manager say that you don't design good plays for the offense. How are you supposed to feel good about winning a football game?
Okay, yes, correct. I want to change the question. We've talked about this now for 2 or 3 days since Jerry said it. We all agree. Of course he shouldn't have said it. Of course it's making Mike McCarthy's job harder. Of course it creates the environment that we're all discussing here.
Jerry Jones, Greeny, a couple weeks ago coming on saying there's no offense that sets their quarterback up for failure more than Dallas does. We watched the tape where they would put CD out by himself and say, go run a stop route. So listen, Jerry Jones is right that there are some pass concepts that aren't good. And Troy Aikman's right that the receivers don't launch off the football or run crisp routes. Both of those things are very true. Also, I can design a great run game. If we get whooped at the line, that's not on design.
Yeah.
I could design a great defensive front. So if we get whooped at the line, that's not design.
Then he's not right.
No, there is some truth to it.
But as a general manager, you're just saying if you don't have the talent within the locker room, because coming into the season, we talked about it, 1 through 53, you don't think it's a good roster. Where should they be at this point? Should it be 4 wins instead of 3 wins? So my thing is when you build a team and you go into a season, we can look across all 32 teams. Some of the teams are saying, hey, we're kind of rebuilding. We know it's not going to be a pretty year. The Dallas Cowboys roster spoke to that. But here's when the results don't happen, you're like, oh, well, we're not coaching.
J-Max, here's the question to ask. Is the coaching elevating the talent or minimizing the talent? I would say that the coaching offensively minimizes the talent. Minimizes it. Now, I don't think that the coaching would make this a 6-0 football team. But I don't believe that the coaching is taking average talent and getting it to perform in an above-average way.
So I want to get to a play really quick, y'all, that highlights a lot of things that we're talking about right now. Not having the ability to have Derrick Henry at the running back position. Mike McCarthy not putting players in the best situations to succeed. And also, this is the 3rd and 1 right here versus Pittsburgh. They rush to the line of scrimmage. They're running a man concept versus zone. What I would like for Dallas to do in this situation is have 2 plays called in the huddle. Because if you see man coverage, you run the pass play. If you see zone coverage, you run the football. Also, if you have Derrick Henry, number 22 in the backfield, that also helps for 3rd and 1. But also what Troy Aikman is talking about, Jalen Tolbert at the top of the screen, he's running like a go route, and I know based on concept, he's supposed to have a corner route.
Sure.
So all those things came up in that one play on 3rd and 1.
Let's have the contrast with this, J-Mac. Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to the coaching, is it elevating or minimizing the talent? Detroit's a really talented offense. Is the coaching elevating that?
Absolutely.
Okay, Minnesota, really talented. Is the coaching elevating it?
Yeah, but
San Francisco.
Yes, absolutely.
Cliff Kingsbury in Washington.
You're also naming teams that have weapons after weapons on the offensive side of the ball.
Washington and Cliff Kingsbury. That's not a very
Yes, not
talented
yeah.
football team offensively.
Washington is the exception in the list you just said. But as you're going through
But they're still getting elevated. Jared Goff's an MVP candidate.
Absolutely.
So that's my thing.
Let me get Schefter in. Or not. Anyway, the point of it is.
I think that's a great question. Again, I think what's getting lost is there's all this cowboy noise, and we're talking about the concepts and the offense and the coaching. And the fact of the matter is, they are 3-3.
Yes.
They are 3-3, and they're going to San Francisco on Sunday night to play a game that becomes critically important to both teams because the loser of this game is going to be reeling. Is going to be reeling. Dallas at 3-4 is going to reignite all these conversations we're having right now in the weeks to come. San Francisco's on the ropes with all the injuries that the 49ers now have. Somebody's going to come out of Sunday night in a very important game, in a game we didn't expect to be important in the way that it is, in a very challenged and difficult spot. And if Dallas loses Sunday night, coming out of a bye, to go to 3-4 in a division where the Commanders are better than everybody expected, with the schedule the Cowboys have ahead, Dallas is going to be in trouble. There's going to be a lot of conversation.
Mike McCarthy is the same coach where last year Dak was an MVP candidate and CeeDee Lamb was atop of the league when we talk about receiving. Same offensive coach.
I'll make one quick point before we go, if I may. That sometimes at this point of a season, obviously winning and losing is the objective here. But if you look at teams' point differentials, they frequently tell you a story along the way of how good or bad a team is. The San Francisco 49ers, we're incredibly worried about them, right? That right now they're sitting at 3-4. They have a positive differential. They're plus 22. The Cowboys are 3-3. They're minus 42. That's worse than the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-5. So they have not played.
But they've gotten blown out twice.
Well, they got blown out 3 times. The Baltimore game they made look much closer at the end with that fourth quarter.
True.
They were non-competitive in all 3 of their losses, and that's the point. Sometimes those things, as the season goes on, are the best indicator of what is to come.